And we're live with another Catalyst Talks. I'm joined by Liza Rodewald, the CEO and founder of Instant Teams. This is a very special moment in the Catalyst Talks series. Not only, Liza, are you a return guest because of how interesting people found your previous discussion on Catalyst Talks, but we've now taken this program on to LinkedIn Live. So first of all, Liza, how are you and how are you getting along?
I'm doing great. Been really busy, but very excited to be here. This is also my first time on LinkedIn Live. So hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah. And for those of you that are perhaps on LinkedIn Live right now, or you're on LinkedIn and you see this go in through your feed, by all means, leave questions in the comment sections, tag it, like it. But even better, what we'd love is if there are people that you know in your life that are in a transition, or they want to make a transition, or they're trying to grow their company, or they have questions about remote work, this is the forum. Tag their name in the line below so that LinkedIn will let them know in their notification feed that Liza, an expert in this field, is talking about how this works, giving expert advice that normally you'd have to pay for. But because we're in this format, she is sharing her expertise with people. So let's kind of get into it. Remind viewers what it is that Instant Team does. And then from there, we'll kind of take it into a couple different things. And I know you had an exciting announcement this week with your company that we're going to do a deep dive into. So tell us more.
Yes. So Instant Teams is a company that builds high quality customer support and operations teams for other companies with military connected talent that's located around the globe and in every single time zone, which enables us to offer 24/7 support for our companies extremely easily.
Yeah, and I've got it here on the screen. So highlight what it means when you talk about the fact that you can deploy teams within 5 days. What's that mean to a hiring manager or a CEO?
Yeah, so we're built on three main foundations. One of those is that we're fast. We build and deploy the teams within 5 days. That's because we pre-vet, pre-queue, pre-interview, get everyone ready to go prior to a customer coming in and having a request. So we do all that heavy lifting up front. And we do customer support, technical support, operational teams. So all of those people will be high quality. And like I mentioned, they're all military connected. So they're US citizens that are highly motivated and also highly dedicated to the teams we build because they move every 2 to 3 years. So once they land that remote position with Instant Teams, they want to stay. And our turnover rate's actually less than 9% in our support roles, where the industry average is about 29%. So it just speaks for itself, the quality of people you get when you use Instant Teams to build those teams.
That's amazing. So for a hiring manager or CEO, explain the importance of that turnover rate. Talk about the opportunity costs of having to retrain people. What does that look like in a normal life of a company? And what do you estimate are the savings that come from using a service like yours?
Yeah, so we've done a deep dive into how much total cost of ownership savings we actually provide to our customers. And it is pretty staggering. It ends up being around 40 to 80%, just because you don't have to retrain people. You don't have to re-onboard people. We take care of all the heavy lifting on building the team for you, creating the structure, all the best practices in remote work. So having that really good, solid remote culture really also helps increase that retention. And so you're saving all of that money by having to create that environment yourself as a company when you can just plug and play it right from Instant Teams.
So what is remote culture? There's a lot of people talking about what the future of remote work looks like. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so remote culture to us at Instant Teams is best practices in remote work. And I like to say, the future of work is not remote, it's now, right? It's already here. So how do we do it in the best way? And how do we not maybe try to replicate old things that we used to do in person in an online environment? And I think the entire world is now going through those changes.
Yeah, what would you say is the best example of that?
So I would say meetings. So what I've seen a lot is companies try to have a bunch of Zoom meetings or online meetings in Microsoft Teams, whatever platform they're using, to try to get productivity, make sure people are working, try to keep tabs, make sure things are going on. And what they're actually doing is hurting the productivity level, right? And the way you conduct meetings in person is different than you need to conduct meetings online. So having best practices for those is extremely important, and not trying to just replicate what you used to do, but having a new way of doing things.
You know, I learned something during COVID that I hope to apply in any future work I do going forward, which is, okay, let's say that you're a team that is physically in one place, but you have remote members that are in other places. Never again, I'm going to try this, but never again will I have a meeting where, say, 7 people are around a conference room table and 2 people are dialed in remotely. If we can't all be in the same place, let's all go remote. That's one example. Do you think that's a good idea? And if so, what are some of the other things that you're seeing people do?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because even pre-COVID, 67% of remote workers said they felt disconnected from the companies that they worked for. And that's exactly why, right? You have a room full of 5 people and 3 people are off. They get left out of the discussion. It's not collaborative anymore. So I would say another thing that I've seen and that we've changed even at Instant Teams and how we run online meetings is there's no need to have a status meeting where we're all online face-to-face. When you have precious time face-to-face, let's be collaborative, right? Let's find ways that we can communicate what we need to with each other, but spend the face-to-face time really collaborating and working together instead. And so we've created a whole new meeting structure that all of our online meetings go through that's been really successful and by laying out the information everyone needs to know, but then offering just time for collaboration.
So Liz Scruggs brings up the point of Zoom fatigue is now trending. How do people tap into that idea of new meeting structure? Is that part of the service you provide? Is that an online resource or a blog? Where can they find that?
Yeah, so I think, we just rolled that part out at our company. So we could definitely create a blog on it. Most of the customers we work with, we do the best practices with them on their teams individually. So not only do we have plug and play systems that we give to companies, but we really work as a partner to figure out what works best with that company, with their culture, with their teams, and then what we've seen as best practices, and then create something that actually works for them and their environment and their team members.
Well, that's perfect. So obviously I'm going to sit here and continue to ask you questions the whole time, but for the live viewers on LinkedIn, feel free to drop comments in below or tag other people that you think are struggling with some of these same concepts we're talking about here. But you had a big announcement this week. That's why, as someone who's a subscriber to what you all do, I thought it was a real thrill because I'm like, ooh, I get to have Liza on Catalyst Talks and talk about it. So talk to me about the new academy that you all have started.
Yes. So we just saw a big gap in the marketplace. As a company that provides remote jobs, remote careers to military connected professionals, what we saw was there's some companies offering training and then other companies that offered jobs, but there was no end-to-end like workforce solution where people could get training and then land those types of remote careers that we see as a company, we're getting asked for daily, right? We're getting asked for this type of talent all the time. And so people will ask, how do I start a remote career? Well, it's finding the right types of jobs that are taking off right now, plugging into those skills and then applying them. So we launched the Instant Teams Academy officially on Monday. We did a soft launch. We already have students going through the program. So we're really excited to announce that and to start doing that end-to-end workforce accelerator funnel.
So what do you mean by learning the skills? Obviously, I assume this is going to be mostly or all completely online. And then if you want to highlight just one of the skills that you think are important in this area of remote work.
Yes. So all of the training is done 100% online, but it is mixed with live instruction and live feedback. So it's not just a course that you just click through and make it through the end. You actually get an instructor, you get real hands-on training. And one of the ones I'd love to highlight is the business development representative training that we have. We get requests for this constantly. Companies always need great people who can generate sales, who can represent their companies in a great way. And the business development rep is a perfect track to learn a new career. It pays extremely well and it's in high demand. And so that's one of the premier ones we wanted to launch with because we can put those people, you go through the program, we can put you into a job at the end.
Yeah. So in fact, hello, Erica. Thanks for tuning in. It says best tip, no one on mute. We'll come back to the skills here on your Instant Academy, but what do you mean by no one on mute?
Yeah. So I have a team rule when we're all in a group meeting that no one's allowed to keep their microphone on mute. Because what it does is it keeps people from just jumping in and saying something and contributing when they're like, oh, is it my turn to speak? It kind of, if everyone's on mute, it kind of becomes like a hand raise, like, can I talk? And so I tell every team member, unless you've got like the lawnmower behind you making so much noise, that no one can hear, take your microphone off mute and let's collaborate just like we were all sitting together at a table.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. In fact, I recently hosted an event in which I realized the room was getting quite quiet. And I basically had to go back to calling on people like I did when I taught at the University of Texas, where I taught at West Point.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take it back to you again. When you talk about leaning on the community as part of what you're doing, or this other idea of landing the job itself. So pick either one of these two that you're working on in the academy. Let's go into them.
Yeah, I think leaning on the community is one of the most important differentiators for Instant Teams, because we've built an entire support system for people going through our academy to have support as they progress through their career, as they have a best practices in remote work. They're continually talking to each other, getting support from Instant Teams. So it is a life cycle of wealth and information that you get, other than just going through a training, getting a certification, and never hearing from that company again. Like, you're plugged into that. You're plugged into us actively giving you internships and landing a job. So it is so much more than just a training program. It really is that workforce accelerator.
Well, there's Jean Shine. She's plugged in on LinkedIn in the Fort Hood, Killeen area. And so for people that are near military installations, how easy is it to get involved in this transition? B, do they necessarily have to be in a status of either active or guard or reserve, or do they need to be spouse only? Or is it absolutely open to everybody?
It is absolutely open to everybody. Our mission obviously is to serve the military connected community. So military spouse, veterans, veteran spouses, everyone is welcome. But even outside of that, we have civilians that are not connected to the military that go through our programs and get jobs through Instant Teams. And we're more than happy, to welcome them in, especially with everything going on now. People are, needing these business development reps, and we need them at Instant Teams. So come one, come all, please come through the training. We've got a job for you.
And I do appreciate the fact that you say you vet everyone that comes through, which in this particular case means it has double meaning.
Yeah. So we vet everyone that comes through the process on both the academy and the Instant Team side. So not everyone would be accepted, but you have to have the time and the resources available to be able to go through the programs. And then, of course, if you're a veteran, there's the double side of vet. So you're related, to the military in some form. So we're excited to be able to serve that community too.
And so talk to me for a second. I'm going to pull this back up, the original company, Instant Teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I understand you've also, just like any startup, raising money, have been raising money. Let's speak now to kind of the entrepreneur's journey, because a lot of the viewers to Catalyst Talks, they themselves are entrepreneurs. How has that been for you? What are the trials and tribulations? I know this is your fourth, basically your fourth company, or four-time serial entrepreneur. What lessons do you have for those entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so this is my fourth company, but this is the first one that I've done where I've raised venture capital. So this has been a new experience for me, even as an entrepreneur, going through that process. And less than 2% of female-founded companies raise venture capital. So I'm extremely excited to be a part of that trailblazing and part of promoting, female founders and women in tech and all of those types of things. So I think, my best piece of just where I'm going is as an entrepreneur is just grit, right? Like, just keep going, figuring things out, not being afraid of change. Like, we are constantly changing and evolving as a startup that is growing through all the stages, and just making sure that you're real with yourself, having real conversations and knowing what needs to change and how you need to set things up, and growing with your company and not letting your company outgrow you.
Well, that's a great point. So I like asking this question. What's the best advice you've received from a mentor? And feel free, if you know the mentor by name or feel like sharing it. If Erica is still on, she could probably even tag that person, let you know that their ears are burning. But what is that advice, either generically or specifically?
Yeah, so I remember hearing this from Shanoa Farnsworth very specifically when I went through the Blue Startups Accelerator. And it was, don't take all the advice you hear from every mentor. And that was a great
advice.
Yes, because when you're early and you're starting out, like, you're absorbing so much, and you can feel very ping-pongish, like, oh, he said this, she said this, and then you get confused in your head. And she always says, the entrepreneur, you know best, right? So filter all the advice and the information you get, filter it, take it in, but then best. You know what nobody knows the company like you know the company. And I think that's great advice.
What comes to mind when I hear that is the example I've given to people, which is to kind of think of it like, and I don't know how this looks on camera, but think of them like guardrails, which is, some people are going to try to push you this way and you're going to bump into that guardrail. And I think that guardrail really is your inner core, your character, what feels right for you. Like I was told during the Ride Scout journey, no way you can do this company unless you move it to Silicon Valley. Nobody's going to give you money unless you move to Silicon Valley. I'm like, I don't want to move to Silicon Valley. My family loves it in Texas. Now, during our launch year in 2013, I did live out of the basement of Craig Cummings. And so Lawton, once again, thank you for allowing me to live in your basement for 6 months. So entrepreneurs do have to make sacrifices. So in terms of the advice you give as a mentor, because you are a mentor and a lot of people look up to you, what would you pass along for an early mentor or an early entrepreneur that's starting out?
Yeah. So I think, back to my just grit philosophy, just don't give up. You got to keep pushing. Things are going to come your way. And the highs and lows of entrepreneurship are so fast and so close together that you've got to remain steady. So just dig in, go along for the ride, do what you know is best, stay true to yourself, and you're going to make it through the end.
Yeah. Well, I love that, but let me give you one piece of thought, or really I'd like to get your thought on this idea, which is I do still though run into a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to build the world's greatest left-handed football bat and sell it to people. And I try to help them distinguish between a hobby that they love to do, making this left-handed football bat, versus a product that someone wants to buy or a service they want to use. How do you help them see the difference between the two?
Yeah. So I actually just said this very phrase to my team today. One of my philosophies is see a need, fill a need, right? Like entrepreneurs, we can come up with all kinds of ideas, but the best ideas are born from needs you actually see other people having that you solve, in mass. So basically trying to get that focus on, is it a need in the market, and get something out the door to prove that out, like as soon as possible. Don't go build something for a year and a half and then release it. And everybody's like, who needs that? So definitely test, iterate, and ask people other than your friends and your family if they're good ideas, because they will all tell you it's a good idea, no matter if it is or not. So seek counsel outside of your inner circle to validate ideas.
That is fabulous advice. I remember distinctly the very first time we ever had enough resources to put our app Ride Scout in the hands of total strangers, and said, okay, here is a device to help you get around town. And that's all they did. That's all they handed to them. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to tell them this, but that's not the way the real marketplace works. People will discover it and use it, and they have to learn it on their own. And it felt so, on one part, frustrating, another part, humiliating. I'm like, what do you mean they don't know? It should be obvious. You push that button. So that's great advice. Well, I'm going to end by putting what Erica posted on there, which is, again, the website to your instantteamsacademy.com. So we'll end with you and your last point, which is take us out, remind folks what the Instant Team Academy is, who it's for, and how they can use it in their own professional career.
Yeah. So the Instant Teams Academy is a workforce accelerator that's specifically built for professionals who want to upskill or reskill or train in high demand remote careers that are happening right now. We have the business development rep track and the digital marketing track right now. We will be releasing a customer success and a software engineering track very soon, so stay tuned for that. But it gives you an entire network of support while you're going through, including an internship, landing a job portion, and being part of the Instant Teams community to continue to support you as you grow your remote career.
Wonderful. Well, Liza, it's been a real thrill to host you again, not only as a return guest on the show, but in this future of work. Everybody has concerns. We don't quite know what the future of remote work looks like. I appreciate how you laid it out. And for the viewers, this video will sit on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Feel free to share it with others. Leave comments even after the fact in the comment section below. And be sure to contact Liza and her team if you think that this is an opportunity that you could use in your life or your professional career or for your company. So thanks a lot, Liza, for being a part of this today.
Thanks for having me here, Joseph. It's a fun time.
Take care.
All right.